This is CBC Vancouver News.
It's been a steady increase in the last 3 years.
When we're not competitive from a wages and benefit perspective.
Good news for construction, not so good for healthcare. The latest job numbers in BC are out also.
Enough is enough! Our nurses are being kicked, they're being punched, they're being stalked.
BC nurses demand better working conditions as they head into contract talks and
therapy for all of us, in this anxiety-filled time. And mainly he's pest control.
the cat who can't come back. A feline friend at a local grocery store is told to hit the road. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Well, BC nurses took to the streets today, calling on the province to rebuild our healthcare system. And as Joel Ballard reports, those protesting for better conditions paint a portrait of violence, abuse, and burnout. And they say those conditions are leading to potentially dangerous staffing shortages.
Healthcare!
Needs help!
Healthcare!
Needs help!
Hundreds of nurses
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
braving the rain, weaving through the streets of downtown Vancouver, highlighting a healthcare system they say is in crisis.
Our nurses are working under incredibly difficult situations. They're working short-staffed. They're working in conditions where they're exposed to violence. They are mandated to work overtime.
Greywall says that at some hospitals, nursing levels are up to 70% understaffed, leaving nurses overworked and burnt out. Fed up with the conditions, Greywall says many are taking early retirement.
Our nurses are being kicked, they're being punched, they're being stalked, they're having their vehicles keyed and damaged.
Across BC, the healthcare system is under pressure. There's a shortage of family doctors, of paramedics. There's emergency room closures.
What the message they want to give to politicians, our system is broken, but we can fix it. We can't give up on our public healthcare system.
The rally comes as the BC Nurses Union is set to head to the bargaining table in the coming weeks to work up a new collective agreement.
Nurses are critical to what we're doing. We're going to work hard to get an agreement with nurses.
It's been a busy period for the man at the head of healthcare in BC. Last week, Dix revealed a new master agreement for physicians and a new family medicine payment model to attract and retain new doctors. Friday morning, a tentative agreement was announced for the thousands of specialized healthcare professionals in BC, like physiotherapists and X-ray technologists. Back at the rally, nurses are excited for their turn and say they're looking forward to rebuilding the healthcare system. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
A wind warning has been issued for much of the south coast tonight, and already tens of thousands of people are without power.
It is super windy here in Nanaimo. It's about 9:30, raining lightly, and the power has been out for the past hour.
Environment Canada is warning of strong winds for Metro Vancouver, East Vancouver Island, the Southern Gulf Islands, and the Sunshine Coast, with northwesterly winds of 70 gusting to 90 kilometers an hour. The highest winds will be near the water, and thunderstorms are also possible. BC Hydro is working to restore power to nearly 200,000 customers. The winds are expected to ease tonight. A suspected drone drop at a Mission prison has correctional officers calling on Ottawa to tighten up security. The union representing those officers said the drones fly over federal prisons and can drop packages into very small areas, and add the drones are a major problem for prisons.
It's growing daily, and the number of overdoses that are occurring because of drone drops and the number of contrabands getting introduced into the federal institutions, it's creating an unsafe work environment for all the staff that work in the institutions and the general public. So we really need to take this seriously.
The union confirmed to CBC News it received information a drop happened yesterday. It was suspected the drone dropped a gun, drugs, and cell phones. They say staff haven't found a gun, but the threat was taken seriously to ensure everyone's safety. And now they want to sit down with the feds and the Correctional Service of Canada to discuss further measures.
It's going to take some real money and some real time and some real investment into developing a foolproof system, and as well as staffing and budgets. Unfortunately, we need more staff to be able to really stop this from happening as well.
The Correctional Service of Canada declined an interview, but says the situation at Mission has been resolved. Police are investigating 2 separate shootings across the Lower Mainland. The first happened in Surrey last night, and at this time, the actual crime scene has not been found. The 24-year-old man who was shot arrived at a hospital with critical injuries, and police say he's not expected to survive. The second shooting happened around an hour later in North Delta. Officers were called to 117th Street and 92A Avenue. They found a man with significant injuries. Investigators say this was a targeted shooting. Delta police are also working with Surrey RCMP, who found a burned vehicle in the Bridgeview area. More people are working in construction across BC. The latest job numbers from Statistics Canada show thousands of new positions in manufacturing as well. But as Eva Yugwen-Senge reports, our beleaguered health and hotel industries need a lot more people.
Nearly 10,000 new jobs were added to BC's economy in October. Statistics Canada says most of those came from gains in the manufacturing and construction sectors. 17,000 more workers in those fields overall.
Our numbers have been showing that it's been a steady increase in the last 3 years. So there's no surprise to us.
But those numbers were offset by close to 6,000 jobs lost in hotels and accommodation, where 54,000 jobs are sitting unfilled.
The conventions, the international market, corporate and government travel have all lagged leisure travel in recovery. And that is indicative of those job numbers that you're seeing.
StatsCan says the healthcare sector saw a slight drop with about 1,000 fewer jobs in October, a major concern for some who work in emergency services.
We know on any given day across the board, 20 to 30% of our ambulances are guaranteed to be parked with no staff.
The province says it's facing the same hiring challenges as the private sector.
We've got 38,000 more people working right now in the healthcare system than we did prior to the pandemic, and we're hiring like crazy.
Even sectors that added thousands of jobs last month say demand for labor is higher than ever.
We need more people. The numbers are positive, but we still need more to fill the shortages that we have. And the projections are that we're going to need upwards of 6,000 at least by 2027.
The cross-industry labor shortages mean workers have options, and employers have to compete for their attention.
When we're not competitive from a wages and benefit perspective, people are choosing to take other professions. And then the other big thing in BC that we're competing against is private industry.
BC's overall unemployment rate has remained steady at 4.2%, among the lowest in Canada. Eva Yugwen-Senge, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC conservation officers say they don't plan to capture a pair of bears that attacked 2 women yesterday in Squamish. They say the incidents appear defensive. The service says the attacks occurred about an hour apart, but are believed to involve the same sow and her cub. Both women were pushed to the ground and scratched, and one woman was also bitten, but the injuries are believed to be minor. The Squamish Estuary Trail Network will be closed until further notice. An investigation suggests the bears reacted out of surprise.
We have to understand it was a surprise attack. It was also a defensive type behavior in somehow a wilderness area, in a place where we want wildlife. It's a very unfortunate situation. It is a good reminder that we live amongst wildlife, and we have to be aware of our surrounding.
Officers say bears are stressed at this time of year as they look for food before going into hibernation. Officers will continue regular sweeps of the area to monitor the bears. Well, this weekend we'll see most of the province falling back to standard time. Outgoing Premier John Horgan and the NDP have long campaigned to scrap the twice-a-year time adjustment, but as Yasmin Gandam reports, plans appear to have stalled despite public support.
As the clocks turn back an hour Sunday night, British Columbians can bet on some extra sleep, but it may not be all sweet dreams. In 2019, legislation was passed stating the province could switch to permanent daylight time, following a popular public consultation which found many of the participants wanted to remove the twice-a-year time change. Since then, the U.S. Senate followed suit, passing its own legislation that would stop the changing of the clocks starting in November of next year. But sleep experts worry that adopting permanent daylight time will come with consequences.
More at risk for diabetes, they're more at risk for heart disease, they're more at risk for cancer, they're more at risk for mental health problems. They don't function as well in the daytime. I know from my own work with parents who are sleep deprived, they feel less positive about parenting.
And for people in the north, it could be even worse.
If we went on permanent daylight savings time, people in places like Prince George wouldn't be seeing sunrise until about 9 o'clock in the morning, which is pretty late in the day to see the sun get up.
But most people in downtown Vancouver say they would support not having to change their clocks.
I change all the clocks during the day, so it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is, yeah.
Gives you a little bit more time, maybe.
It's a total annoyance. You know, it's just annoying. You know, it always has been.
Doesn't make any sense. That's why it's like playing with the time or something.
Depends on what you do or where you are. Sometimes you say, okay, now it's better, and then you say it's not.
Despite passing in the Senate, the U.S. daylight saving bill has stalled in the House. And BC is also no closer to turning its dream of permanent daylight into reality, meaning at least for the time being, the only option is to fall back on familiar patterns. Yasmin Gandham, CBC News, Vancouver.
A local cat finds himself in a hairy legal situation. Top 10 Produce has long been home to Chief Mouser and Maine mascot Mickey, but a recent ruling from Vancouver Coastal Health has now threatened his future at the store, upsetting both staff and customers. Our Liam Britton with the story of the cat who currently can't come back.
Chin scratches, a pat on the head, and the occasional treat. Luxuries for any house cat, but Mickey isn't a house cat. His home is a mom-and-pop grocery store, and even though he sleeps about 16 hours a day, he always gets the job done.
He's just here for everything, for therapy for all of us, in this anxiety-filled time, and mainly he's pest control. So about 10 years ago, we were infested by mice, and without a cat here, we wouldn't be here.
So Mickey might be a star here at Top 10, but unfortunately he's run afoul of health authorities. And unfortunately for this black and white cat, the law itself is also black and white.
Vancouver Coastal Health said they haven't ordered Mickey gone, but he can't stay. Inspectors received a complaint. It said in an email, the operation of food premises in BC is a regulated activity under the Public Health Act, and an operator must not permit live animals to be on the premises. The use of live animals is also not a recognized component of an integrated pest management program. Our health protection team will be working with the owner to ensure they are in compliance. McDonald thinks it makes no sense.
So the sad part is that I think he's really connected with people and their hearts, right? So to see him go is quite devastating, right?
Whenever we would come by, we'd come say hello. Everybody, he's really friendly, so everybody likes to give him scritches.
On social media, users are mounting Mickey's defense, like Emily Black, a regular customer.
My boyfriend actually called me as soon as he left. He was like, Emily, you need to hear this. Guess what's happening to Mickey? And I was ready to do whatever I could do to make sure he can stay.
So, will the old song come true? Can the cat come back? Possibly, says Victoria Schroff. She's an expert on animal law.
And maybe also talking with the health authorities and seeing, is there a possibility of an exemption?
Meantime, Mickey has found new accommodations. He's going to live with McDonald from now on, not too far away. So while Mickey's working life might be over, he has 8 more lives to live in retirement. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Tutankhamun has helped Egypt's economy and public persona.
Marking the 100th anniversary of one of the most iconic discoveries in archaeology. That story when we return. Thank you for joining our commercial-free live stream. Restaurants across the country are desperately short on workers. Now some owners are going to new lengths to hire more people and convince them to stick around. The CBC's Paula Duhacek explains.
24-year-old Maddie Vine has prepared dishes at many different restaurants. What most had in common, a lack of health benefits.
I didn't even bother trying to get medication for a long time because I knew that it was going to be really expensive.
Her current restaurant is changing things up. It introduced a benefit plan this summer.
I've always wanted it when I was serving, so I felt like when given the opportunity to do it, I would pay it back to my staff.
Sure, it's a helping hand, but in a sector scrambling for workers, it's also a business decision.
They're having to close, reduce their hours because they can't find staff. They're closing, period, because they can't find staff. So this existential crisis now of a shortage in labor is forcing employers to be more competitive, to offer better packages.
That's the strategy at one of Calgary's largest restaurant groups, for the first time providing health and dental benefits to all full-time staff.
We hope that it will set us apart from other companies.
It's happening in other parts of the country too.
It means people are happy and they don't have to worry about things that they shouldn't have to worry about, like going to the dentist or going to physiotherapy when they've injured themselves.
Restaurants Canada doesn't track how many restaurants offer benefits, though anecdotally it says the number is growing. Some businesses say they'll absorb those costs, but many customers are bound to pay more.
It's reflected in our price point.
But these owners think change needs to happen.
I feel like if people make this their career, then let's treat it like it's their career. Let's offer them what businesses offer.
Maddie Vine agrees.
For like a industry that's all about taking care of other people, it doesn't make sense to not take care of your employees.
She calls it an industry evolution that's overdue. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary. Today marks the 100th anniversary of one of the most iconic discoveries in all of archaeology, the treasure-filled tomb of Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. Better known as King Tut, the tomb of the young pharaoh was discovered on November 4th, 1922 in Luxor's Valley of the Kings. And here in Vancouver, a new National Geographic exhibit is showcasing the amazing treasures of the Egyptian king.
My name is Mark Locke. I'm the creative producer of National Geographic's Beyond King Tut, the immersive experience. I've used that word immersive for 25 years to mean something else. You know, I'll say, well, the Titanic Grand Staircase is immersive, you know, but now it means these large projection shows. Well, with that technology and with the association with National Geographic, with their photo archives, their film, video, and their academic oversight of what we're doing, we thought it was the perfect fit. It's more storytelling. It's got a beginning, middle, and an end. We have 9 different galleries in this show. We talk about the discovery, we take you into the burial chamber, we introduce you to Tut as a young man, as a young boy becoming king, the mummification process, his journey into the afterlife, finally in the immersive room, that along with the artifacts soaring around you, as well as going to Egypt today. You know, I had the great honor of doing the artifact exhibition, actually touring the real objects from King Tut's tomb around the world. So with this 100th anniversary of the discovery of the tomb, knowing that the objects are now back in Egypt for a very long time, building a brand new museum there, it was like, well, how do we commemorate this incredible discovery? Some people say the most significant archaeological discovery of all time. To this day, it's the only intact tomb, meaning the things had not been robbed, the things had not been taken out. When Howard Carter punched through that wall and he inserted a torch, just a flickering torch, and someone said, "Can you see anything?" And he said, "Yes, wonderful things." Well, those wonderful things are the objects from the tomb that tell the story that are so much part of this exhibition.
My name is Kenneth Garrett, and I'm a freelance photographer that works primarily for National Geographic magazine. My whole career has been focused on the origin of civilization and human evolution, and I was working on a story on the Olmecs when the editor asked me to do a story on Egypt. I knew nothing about Egypt. I got completely fascinated by it, and I've been going back now for 27 years. Each object, when I approach them, I usually have a little pocket flashlight with me, and I'll walk into the room, and in the case of these objects here, we were photographing them for a catalog, so they would bring the object out and put it on the table, and I would walk around with my flashlight and I'd look for details on the face or on the body, look for shadow, look for shape, and I would wait until the artifact spoke to me. And then I go, that's it. So then I set my tripod, then I set my lights, then I make the picture. Whenever I start on a story, it's what I call a little mini master's degree, because I need to learn the subject before I can figure out what to choose to photograph in order to tell the story. This Beyond King Tut immersive experience is a way to use the archive of photographs that we've built over time and put together an educational package that can inspire a new generation to come and learn more about King Tut. It's fabulous for me to walk into a room and see my pictures 20 feet high on the side of the wall. Now, personally, I wish they didn't go away so fast because I like to look at them longer. But there's hundreds of pictures that are going by in a matter of minutes, and everywhere you look, there's 20-foot high pictures of your artifacts. We're standing in front of one of my favorite pieces that's one of the shrine boxes from King Tut's tomb. King Tut had this made showing him enjoying life. If you go to Ramses, all you see is Ramses slaughtering people. You know, he's always in battle somewhere. He's always riding his chariot. He's always dragging beheaded captives. You don't ever see Ramses in a scene like this. And it's pretty much unique to the Amarna period to see them having such a beautiful, enjoyable time. But when I came and I walked around this box and I saw this scene, and there's a marsh over here that's been cropped out with the ducks flying out. And it's just like, when I saw that scene, I fell in love with it. And it's like, you know, it's just the good life.
This was Deep Cove this evening. Very rainy, very gray. Johanna will have your full forecast next.
Sometimes you're just too busy to hang around waiting for the phone to ring. There's places to go and things to do, and you don't have time to make that important call or accept that important call. Well, that problem's solved. The future's now. It's not quite Dick Tracy's radio in a watch, but it's close. A telephone in a pocket. Hi, Mom.
They're called cellular phones. They're self-contained. They'll be working in Vancouver by the beginning of the year, and the battle's on to win our hearts and our telephone dollars. First out of the gate is a company called Cantel. It held a press conference today to tell us that portable phones are just the thing for the busy commuter.
We have an excellent solution to a problem that I believe is going to develop with Expo next year, and that is, I think there are going to be a lot of long traffic delays created by the great influx of visitors to our grand city. And I think it's going to cause a great need for affordable mobile telephones amongst all of us.
Radio signals from the phone are picked up on antennas scattered around the city, like this BC Tel unit on top of the Scotia Tower in downtown Vancouver. The signal travels to a control system under the antenna. From there, it travels through the regular telephone switching system. It will take until the beginning of next year for Cantel to install its antennas in Vancouver. You can already call your mom from your pocket phone in Toronto and Montreal. By January, BC Tel hopes to have its own competing system in place. BC Tel was setting up for a trade show today at the BC Place Stadium, already claiming it will do it better.
We have a very broad selection of radio telephones for customers. We have a number of different manufacturers that we've signed up. We have a lot of experience in the radio business. We've been in the business for 40 years, and people know that we're going to be around.
But you gotta really want to talk to Mom. Phone calls will be about 50 cents a minute. The phones themselves can be bought for $2,000 to $5,000, leased for an average of $75 a month.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Celebrate Chinese Canadian music and entertainment at the Jade Music Festival, November 28th to December 3rd. View the schedule at jmfa.ca. And on December 7th, join Anita Bath and a panel of Indigenous business leaders at the Surrey Board of Trade's online Entrepreneur Showcase. Register for the free discussion today at businessinsurrey.com.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
And senior meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now for a look at the weather. Joe, we saw the tail end of that atmospheric river. What does the weekend have in store?
We get to catch our breath, Michelle, which will be really nice after the past couple of days. This latest atmospheric river on the borderline of beneficial and detrimental. We're really seeing our reservoirs refill and those drought conditions ease, but obviously lots of problems on the road and minor flooding. Let me show you where that atmospheric river is right now. It's still across the Pacific. You can see that what does look like a conveyor belt of moisture in the satellite, but it's sunk south now so that the bullseye is actually in through Washington. We're going to continue to see those warnings drop. Rainfall warning has ended for Metro Vancouver. A snowfall warning still in place for the mountain passes as we head towards the Rockies, but again, the break is coming for Saturday. Seasonal temperatures, we'll see some sunshine across the south coast. Rain returns on Sunday, not an atmospheric river, just a regular old full day of rain event for Metro Vancouver. But watch these temperatures because that's going to be our next weather story. You can really see after Sunday, those blues, that's the modified Arctic air mass, and the purples start to descend across the province. So what you're looking at, those are afternoon highs. So in Vancouver, we'll just get up to a 5 on Monday. That's our best chance of seeing some wet snow Monday night into Tuesday. Afternoon highs in places like Williams Lake and Prince George will be into the minus double digits through Tuesday, with Wednesday being the coldest day. And you can really see it in this as this swirling low off our coast. It literally drags down that Arctic air and bringing that fresh shot of snow for Monday. So we'll have to keep an eye on those snowfall totals for Metro Vancouver. As you probably all know, it's a little too far out to nail those totals. At this point, it just looks like Monday overnight into Tuesday, some snowfall. And those temperatures not sticking around too long, Michelle. We've really got 3 days of the deep freeze before we get back to our seasonals for next Thursday. But a lot going on in one 7-day forecast, I do have to say.
All right, Joe, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And that is your news for this Friday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, visit cbc.ca/BC. Your next local newscast is on Radio 1 tomorrow morning at 6:30. Good night. Vancouver.